So Wake Island is finally upon us. It's one of the old school Battlefield maps that snuck its way into a bunch of the past games, and with Battlefield 5 taking us to the Pacific Theatre, it makes complete sense to shove it in there too. Obviously following that very familiar horseshoe layout, but revamped and designed in a way that makes it feel fresh to the newer game. In this video, I'm going to be briefly running over Wake Island and giving you the general lowdown on its key areas, with a load of opinions and first impressions along the way. But that's not everything, because I've also got a lot of other information regarding that time to kill and spotting, because DICE knows that last 5.2 update has essentially created a massive rift in the community, and they know that most of the people still playing the game that were looking forward to Wake Island weren't exactly very happy that they'd gone and messed around with all their favourite guns. Shame on DICE. If I'm going to be honest, it seems like a bit of a dumb decision to do this in the first place, especially with the game being over a year old, already having a fanbase that enjoyed the old weapon stats, and with it then riding on a pleasant wave of hype and positivity coming from the release of the War in the Pacific update. Probably the best thing to hit the game since the game even bloody came out. But I'm going to be talking much more about that shortly in the second part of the video, though for now let's focus on that new map. So as quite a few of you guys will probably know, Wake Island first appeared in Battlefield 1942, and it's been a common trend for it to pop up in later games further down the line. Showing up in Battlefield 2, Battlefield 1943, Battlefield 3, and a few others. It generally follows a fairly linear path, kinda like an outdoor version of Operation Metro in a funny sort of way, though it's curved in shape and is surrounded by water, allowing you to sail across from one side of the island to the other on boats, making for some sneaky flanks and interesting ways to cut the enemy off strategically. In Battlefield 5, both the Conquest and Breakthrough game modes start out with the Americans attacking from the open ocean, essentially making it an island siege, with the Japanese faction basically defending. Several key areas are scattered across the land, all connected by rural terrain and pathways surrounded by trees and foliage, with the first of these areas being the hotel, making the A flag. This hotel is still being built however, so a lot of its walls and interiors are open, leaving players inside somewhat more exposed, with limited cover from boarded up walls. Pretty nice area to run wild with an SMG in. Beyond this, the map narrows, taking us to a bridge, leading us to the B flag, which just so happens to be a barracks area within a mini military base. Kinda similar to the barracks on Aerodrome, with the same kind of buildings. Moving around the island even more takes us through a small network of pathways and trenches, eventually leading to the central point of the map, the C flag, situated inside a hangar. Of course, around this area is a few runways, more burnt out vehicles that can be used for cover, along with a few other small buildings, all helping to conceal your position as you advance through. Beyond this is a pretty open space, which will probably be overlooked by snipers and players with other longer range weapons, so it's usually best to try and flank around the sides of the island on the beaches if you need to travel across this next area, especially if you don't have any smoke. Once you pass this area, you'll come across an ammo depot at the D flag with a bunch of bunkers and embankments which you can use for cover. Otherwise this area is fairly open, so do proceed with caution as you pass through. There's also a lot of high explosives inside the bunkers, so if you throw a grenade down one of the hatches, you'll be able to blow them up, killing enemies hiding inside them nice and easily with a massive explosion. Just make sure you run for the hills if you're planning on doing this though. Once again, this leads to another section of pathways, taking us directly to the E flag, which just so happens to be an oil tank area. This flag offers a bit more verticality than most of the other flags, because there's a sunken area below ground level, along with the oil tanks and pipes that can be scaled to reach new vantage points. More paths, rocks, uneven terrain await you ahead as you move your way around to the F flag, the last one, which takes place around a docks area, with another stretch of land beyond here, which you can use to flank or land on with vehicles coming from the water. And that's pretty much Wake Island in a nutshell. First impressions of this map are pretty good. It does offer a nice variety of areas to fight around, and despite being linear in design, the sections in between the flags all seem to be balanced fairly well with cover pieces, pathways, trenches, uneven terrain and foliage, making it a bit easier to get around the map without getting blasted by snipers every 5 seconds. The map looks good, it fits in well with the other Pacific maps and content, but I do have to say that from my own experience, visibility isn't exactly the best on this map, with enemies seeming to blend in a lot with the environment, probably down to the colour palette being fairly similar to the soldier uniforms. So although it's not quite as bad as a few of the base game maps, it can sometimes be a bit hard to spot players hiding in bushes or going prone in the grass. Nevertheless, just means you'll probably have to move around a bit slower and keep an eye out for potential threats ahead. Along with visibility not being the best, I also found that on breakthrough, the attackers always seem to dominate the defenders, so there did seem to be some slight balancing issues on that game mode. Out of all the breakthrough matches I jumped into, there was only one time where the defenders won, and that's only because a bunch of people backed out halfway through the match, making teams a bit lopsided. Not sure if anyone else has had this issue, but it seems that the attackers for some reason have a bit of an advantage, so a bit more balancing might need to be addressed further down the line. Overall though, Wake Island is a decent map that pushes the action into those key areas quite well. It offers a different sort of layout and design to the rest of the maps in the game, and I'd definitely recommend giving it a go if you haven't already. And if you have, let me know what you think of it down below in the comments. But anyway, enough of Wake Island, let's talk more about those 5.2 changes, and how DICE are going to address them going into the future. I can pretty much bet that the comment section is going to be full of people hating on update 5.2 and wishing the time to kill changes would be reverted. And well, the bad news for those guys is, DICE have stated that they simply aren't going to do a full revert, which is going to be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of the now pissed off community. The good news is, however, DICE does now have a bunch of tweaks to the new weapon stat model to make a lot of the guns that were butchered in the last patch a bit more in line with how they were before, mainly toning back on those ridiculous damage drops over distance. And I can actually give you those exact tweaks right now. So starting off with the SMGs, which will probably hit the hardest, the faster firing ones like the Suomi, Tommy Gun, MP28 and the ZK383 with its light bolt spec, they're all being given a bit more power, going from a 5 to 13 shot kill to a 4 to 10 shot kill. There was a bit of a trade-off, they're also going to be less accurate, with a 25% increase in vertical recoil and a 60% increase in horizontal, which is going to make it seem harder to actually hit targets over long ranges, but generally makes them more viable in close quarters, killing in one less bullet. As for the likes of the Sten, EMP, MP40 and ZK383 with its base fire rate, those guns are now going to kill in 4 to 10 shots rather than 4 to 11, and the Type 100 is going to be able to kill in 5 to 10 shots instead of 5 to 12, giving the SMGs a little bit more power over distance, which is definitely what those weapons needed. At the end of the day, they are firing bullets. As for the assault rifles, the SDG-44's getting a slight close range buff, going from a 5 to 8 shot kill to a 4 to 8 shot kill, making it even more aggressive in CQC. The Sturmgewehr 15's getting a much needed buff, going from a 6 to 9 to a 5 to 9 bullet kill, along with it also having a 25% vertical recoil improvement, along with 20% less horizontal recoil too. So it should be able to take down players a little bit quicker within short sight lines, and should also seem a bit easier to use, having better stability and precision. The M1907 SF, which is another gun that was pretty much ruined by the 5.2 update, is now going to be able to kill in 4 to 10 bullets as opposed to 5 to 13, giving you some extra close and long range damage, with a few adjustments made to its damage drop off too. So hopefully that gun should feel a bit more in line with how it was before. And the last assault rifle to be getting tweaks is the Breda M1935PG, getting improvements to its damage model, plus allowing it to kill in 4 to 6 shots rather than 5 to 6. So this means that you should be able to take down players with a single burst within close ranges, just like you could before. Anyway, moving on to those light machine guns, we've got ourselves the KE7, Lewis and Bren guns, which are going to be getting some extra close range damage, going from a 5 to 8 bullet kill to a 4 to 8 bullet kill. So one less shot to kill within close quarters. The LS26 is getting a bit more range power, going from a 4 to 11 to a 4 to 9 shot kill. A bit of good news for that gun. Of course, the FG42, another weapon that desperately needed attention, is now getting its 5 to 13 shots reduced to 4 to 9, so basically the same bullets to kill as the LS26, which is a pretty drastic buff to the 5.2 version, though it's still going to have a slightly faster drop off to the LS26, just to make things a little bit more balanced. As for MMGs, there's only the MG42 and the VGO being tweaked, with the 5 to 13 shots being reduced to 4 to 10. So less bullets to kill over most ranges, with a few adjustments made to damage drop off. Those guns are also going to be given a 25% vertical recoil reduction, along with 20% less horizontal, making them feel a tad easier to use over range too. Though DICE definitely know about their MG42 damage exploit with high velocity bullets, so that's not going to be around anymore once that hotfix is available. And last of all is the semi-auto rifles for the assault class. The Turner SMLE and the MAZ-44 are getting their damage models improved to a 3-shot kill up to 30 meters, getting a higher maximum damage value. And the AG-M42 is getting a fire rate increase, bumping it up to 360 RPM from 300. I honestly think that the M1A1 carbine still needs a bit of a buff too, but unfortunately that gun doesn't seem to be getting any love, as of yet. So this is definitely a step in the right direction. It probably won't make everyone happy, as I know quite a lot of you guys will want a complete rollback to the old stats, but at least it should make weapons feel more balanced overall. DICE are also planning to sort out that new close range spotting mechanic they've just added to the game too. They're basically completely removing the icons that appear above enemies' heads when they're in your view, but not when you're looking directly at them. The icons will still pop up though if you do look at the enemy in close range, but the distance has been reduced to 20 meters from 25 meters. There's also going to be a tighter angle where it counts as you looking at the enemy, and smoke will stop these icons appearing more accurately, like it should. So these hotfixes should be coming into the game very soon, and depending on when you're actually watching this video, they might even already be out. DICE are planning to roll these changes into the game ASAP, so hopefully they should help to improve the gameplay when they do. Anyway, that's just about it for another one folks. Hope the video helped you out, thumbs up if it did, and make sure you subscribe for loads more Battlefield stuff coming up in the future. Take it easy, and I'll be seeing you in that next episode.